Move it, troopers! On the double! Fire!
Hey guys, this is the Scoundrel's Cantina, and this video is our top 10 list of our favorite Star Wars space vehicles. We'll be featuring vehicles from the whole Star Wars universe. You guys sit back and enjoy the rest of the video. At number 10, we have the TIE Fighter. The TIE Fighter was the signature starfighter of the Galactic Empire. Instantly recognizable from the roar of their engines, they exuded Imperial power and prestige across the galaxy, seeing use throughout the Empire's political existence. The TIE Starfighter was a small short-range fighter developed and manufactured massively by the Empire. The basis for the TIE Fighter can be traced back to Kuat System Engineering's Alpha 3 Nimbus Starfighter, along with several other outmoded models from the Old Republic. Like their predecessors, TIEs employ two vertical wings similar in appearance to V-wing starfighters. However, the ETA-2 Actic-class light interceptor bore even more similarities with its central cockpit pod, twin ion engines, and common weapons technology. A TIE Fighter's twin ion engines provided thrust and boosters, capable of quickly adjusting the ship's direction. However, in order to minimize power drain, the TIE lacked key systems such as deflector shields and hyperdrives. The TIE Fighter's black wings were in fact an array of 12 solar collectors that pulled power and directed it to the fighter's twin engines and low-temperature lasers. Its central cockpit was tightly fitted, incorporating flight controls, view screens, targeting systems, tracking equipment, including a homing beacon, in case the vessel was stolen, and room for a pilot, all in the central pod. It is also one of the most iconic ships in the Star Wars universe. At number 9, we have the Outrider. The Outrider was a heavily modified YT-2400 light freighter used by the brash smuggler Dash Rendar. Rendar held that his ship was almost as well known as the Millennium Falcon. The Outrider started life as a stock Corellian Engineering Corporation YT-2400. Like all the ships in the YT series, the Outrider featured the trademark saucer-shaped hull, which Rendar reinforced with titanium armor and gave it a dark chrome gleam. The cockpit and the main escape pod were attached to the starboard side of the saucer with two bracing arms. The docking hatch and another escape pod were on the port side. One of the first modifications Dash made was to replace the original engines with three Kongar KG Defender military-grade ion engines. When Rendar could not avoid combat, the Outrider was more than capable of holding its own. The ship was armed with a pair of Dymac heavy laser cannons mounted on dorsal and ventral turrets. The standard Corellian 1D servo mounts provided a 180 degrees range of fire above and below the ship. These cannons were hand-modified by Rendar to improve both firepower and range, and could be fired from the gunnery wells or from the cockpit. The Outrider was also armed with a pair of forward-firing concussion missile launchers built into the cockpit tube. Each launcher contained a magazine of 3 missiles. It is most notably seen in Star Wars A New Hope in the Mos Eisley spaceport.
At number 8, we have the Aggressive Reconnaissance 170 Starfighter, also known as the ARC 170 Starfighter, an Advanced Recon Fighter. It was a heavy starfighter that saw widespread use by the Republic Navy throughout the Clone Wars. Designed and manufactured by the Incom Corporation, the ARC 170 was an ancestor of the T-65 X-Wing Starfighter, which would be mainly used by the Alliance to restore the Republic. Like the other starfighter designs of its time, such as the lighter Z-95 and the heavier PTB-625, the ARC 170 had a narrow space frame flanked by large engines. The ARC 170 also possessed an S-foil system which helped to radiate heat, something that aided the fighter's shielding. This also provided additional stability during atmospheric flight. Using its front deflector shield projectors to disperse heat generated from air resistance, the ARC 170 could reach supersonic speeds in atmospheric flight. The ARC 170 was a departure from the starfighter designs of the Clone Wars era. Fighters such as the Alpha 3 Nimbus and the ETA-2 Actis were built to be small, fast and maneuverable at the cost of heavy weapons, shields and hyperdrives. On the other hand, the ARC 170 was large, rugged and capable of long, independent operations. The ARC 170 carried enough consumables for 5 days of operation. However, the supplies and additional equipment had a price, and the ARC 170 was quite slow. Durable armor and shielding, as well as two-tail guns, helped the ARC 170 to survive when surrounded by swarms of smaller, faster enemy fighters. It also possessed powerful weaponry. It carried 6 proton torpedoes, and its wingtip-mounted medium laser cannons were usually large for a starfighter. It was designed to accommodate 3 pilots and an astromech droid. It was mostly used during the Clone Wars.
And number 7, we have the Ebon Hawk. The Ebon Hawk was a dynamic class freighter and a smuggler ship that rose to fame due to its use around the time of the Jedi Civil War. It was well known throughout the galaxy as a ship associated with the Exchange, and it passed through many hands before it was commandeered by the Dark Lord of the Sith, Revan, who was escaping the destruction of Taris. After Revan joined the Jedi Order, the ship was instrumental in his search for the Starforge. The ship was heavily modified over the course of its life, to the point that it was difficult to determine its origins. With its extremely powerful hyperdrive, the ship was believed to be in the top 10 of the fastest ships in the galaxy during its time, as it was the fastest ship in the Outer Rim territories. The ship was painted primarily white, with the 3 prongs ascendant in red on the bow as well as the dorsal and ventral sides. The Ebon Hawk was inspired by the Millennium Falcon, but its look was adjusted to the Old Republic era and is by far one of the most iconic Old Republic ships. It is seen in the Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 games, which are based 4,000 years before the Battle of Yavin.
At number 6, we have the Imperial class Star Destroyer, known generally as the Imperial Star Destroyer. It was a product line of massive dagger-shaped capital ships of the Imperial Navy. It consisted of 2 variants, the Imperial First Class Star Destroyer and the Imperial Second Class Star Destroyer. The Imperial Star Destroyer replaced the smaller Venator class used by the Galactic Republic during the Clone Wars and was generally the Empire's star cruiser of choice. At the height of its power, the Galactic Empire operated with over 25,000 of these ships. The distinctive profile of the Imperial class Star Destroyer instilled fear into the soldiers of the rebellion factions. With a length of 1,600 meters, the wedge-shaped Imperial class Star Destroyer was nearly 460 meters longer than its immediate predecessor, the Venator class Star Destroyer. Imperial class Star Destroyers had over 37,000 crew members on board, of which are 9,253 officers and 27,850 enlisted personnel. And also the complement of 9,700 stormtroopers added to a total of 46,803 crew members and passengers. Every Imperial class vessel carried consumables for 2 years. The Imperial Star Destroyer is the second ship ever seen in Star Wars and is definitely one of the most fear-inspiring and iconic ships ever made.
In number 5, we have the XWing Starfighter. The X-Wing is a type of a starfighter marked by their distinctive S-foils that resemble an X in attack formation. During the Galactic Civil War, the Rebel Alliance used the T-65 X-Wing Starfighters in a number of battles, including the Battle of Yavin and the Battle of Endor. The X-Wing Starfighter was 12.5 meters long, and it consisted of a pilot and an astromech droid. Its maximum atmospheric speed was 1,050 km per hour. Possessing deflector shields, a hyperdrive, and an R2 astromech for repairs and navigation, and a complement of proton torpedoes, the X-Wing allowed the Rebellion to launch raids in Imperial space with improved odds of a successful mission. The X-Wing was so predominantly flown by Rebel forces that it became a symbol of their faction, much like the TIE Fighter and the Star Destroyer were symbols of the Galactic Empire. The X-Wing's laser cannons had various settings. Single fire, where each cannon fired individually. Dual fire, where 2 cannons in opposite positions paired up and then pairs fired alternately. Quad fire, where all 4 cannons fired together converging on the target. Or stutter fire, where many underpowered beams were fired in rapid succession. The X-Wing is one of the main symbols of Star Wars, so that's saying a lot how iconic it is.
At number 4, we have the Jedi Starfighter. The Jedi Starfighter was a term used to describe any starfighter normally piloted by a Jedi. Vessels designed as Jedi Starfighters included the Delta 7 Aether Sprite class Light Interceptor, which is seen in Attack of the Clones, the Delta 7B Aether Sprite class Light Interceptor, which is seen in the Clone Wars, and the ETA-2 Actis class Light Interceptor, which was used mostly at the end of the Clone Wars and in Revenge of the Sith. The Delta 7 Aether Sprite class Light Interceptor was a Jedi-used starfighter that saw extensive action during the Golden Age of the Republic and was designed specifically with the Jedi in mind. The Delta 7's designers worked with the Jedi to create a starfighter with less internal systems than other starships, and focused on making their controls as responsive as possible due to the Jedi's Force-aided capabilities. It was an elite transport, and it could hold a single pilot and an integrated astromech droid, as unlike later starfighter models, the wings were too thin to accommodate a full astromech. Unlike most ships in the galaxy, the Delta 7 Jedi Starfighter did not feature a built-in hyperdrive, but instead relied on external hyperspace transport rings that attached to the starship, allowing it to enter light speed. Despite this, the ship could still attain speeds of 1,260 km per hour in real space and was in the Jedi's color of choice. The Delta 7 was later replaced by the Delta 7B, and then after the ETA-2, which was a starfighter used by the Jedi during the end of the Clone Wars. One of these ETA-2 starfighters was under the personal use of Darth Vader several years after the Clone Wars. Our favorite is the Delta 7 and the Delta 7B starfighter, but those are basically the same except that the Delta 7B is a bit bigger and has the astromech droid on a different spot.
And number 3, we have the Slave 1. Slave 1 was a modified Fire Spray 31 class patrol and attack craft used by the infamous bounty hunter Jango Fett before the Clone Wars. Jango outfitted the craft with a number of weapons including laser cannons, projectile launchers, and seismic charges. While under Jango's ownership, the ship was in a dogfight over Geonosis with the Jedi Starfighter piloted by Obi-Wan Kenobi. After Jango's death during the Battle of Geonosis, the craft came into the possession of his son Boba Fett, who used it throughout his own bounty hunting career. It was also briefly owned by Spice Pirate Hondo Ohnaka before returning it to Boba's ownership near the end of the Clone Wars. The ship became well known to the galaxy's fugitives, who recognized it as the ship owned by one of the galaxy's deadliest bounty hunters. During the Galactic Civil War, Boba used Slave 1 to transport a carbon-frozen Han Solo from Cloud City to Jabba the Hutt on Tatooine. Originally, it had a blue base instead of a dark red. This was then changed when it came into Ohnaka's possession. The reason it's on this list is because Boba Fett is my favorite character from the Star Wars universe, and because I had a blast playing it at Star Wars Battlefront.
And number 2, we have the Republic Attack Gunship or Assault Gunship. The Republic Attack Gunship was used by the Grand Army of the Republic during the Clone Wars era. Its role was to transport troopers as well as offering air-to-ground and air-to-air support for the Republic against the Separatists. After the formation of the Galactic Empire, the remaining gunships were absorbed into the Imperial Navy. A variant of this gunship could be used to transport a single all-terrain tactical enforcer, or in other words, the ATTE. Another version was modified to function within the vacuum of space. Between the first Battle of Geonosis and the Battle of Coruscant, most gunships lacked the distinctive side-mounted turrets in order to make more room for the sliding doors. Later in the Clone Wars, however, the side turrets have been reintroduced to virtually all operating gunships. Gunships were designed to transport up to 30 clone troopers into combat and support them. They also had a rear hangar that could hold up to 4 speeder bikes to support. Some versions of the gunship included back-to tanks for medical transportation. They were 17 meters long and could fly 620 kilometers per hour in the atmosphere. The Republic gunship could also have lights on their sides instead of the bubble turrets, as seen in the Clone Wars and the Battle of Umbara, and could also carry clone walkers instead of speeders. The Rebel Alliance also used the gunships when they got the chance, as seen in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Most gunships had pictures and artistic customizations on their sides, and sometimes even pin-ups, which is an awesome addition to the vehicle. It is one of the best vehicles in the whole Star Wars galaxy and our favorite vehicle.
And finally, at number 1, we have the Millennium Falcon. The Millennium Falcon is a Corellian YT-1300 light freighter used by the smugglers Han Solo and Chewbacca during the Galactic Civil War. It was built 60 years before the Battle of Yavin. The Millennium Falcon was previously owned by Lando Calrissian, who lost it to Solo in a game of sabacc. Its aged appearance bellied numerous advanced modifications to boost the ship's speed, weapons, and shield, including a hyperdrive engine, among the fastest in the entire galaxy, enabling it to outrun Imperial Star Destroyers. It included sensor-proof smuggling compartments, which were used during the rescue of Princess Leia to invade Imperial stormtroopers. Afterwards, the Millennium Falcon saw further action when Solo chose to join the Rebels during the Battle of Yavin, where it was able to sneak up on Darth Vader's TIE Advanced, and later on at the Battle of Endor, where it entered the Death Star 2 and destroyed it from within. In addition to its renowned hyperdrive, which supposedly made the Falcon the fastest ship in the galaxy, the ship was equipped with a backup hyperdrive. The Falcon could have consumables for 2 months, the cargo capacity is 100 metric tons, it has X-Wing Starfighter mounting clips, and its maximum atmospheric speed is 1,050 kilometers per hour. It is 34 meters long and 25 meters wide. There's no ship like this in the entire galaxy, and it's definitely one of a kind. It was very difficult to choose between the Falcon and the Republic gunship, but we put the Falcon first for you guys.
Wings and B-Wing standing by. Y-Wings and A-Wings standing by. Reporting Q-Wing, can you hear me?
Anyways guys, this is it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, leave a like out there and subscribe for more videos like this one. Be sure to check out our other videos and leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And remember guys,
God is awesome all the time, may the force be with you always, and we will see you in another video, you rebel scum.
This party's over.